The Prepped Adelaide Marathon is on again. Register now for the Prepped Marathon, Half Marathon, or the family-friendly Saucony 10K or 5K event. Seize your personal best with Prepped and get ready for the 45th Adelaide Marathon, Sunday, August 27. Register at adelaidemarathon.com.au.
Being a skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Under cover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 298 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. It's Australian Record Mania this week. Got a couple of Australian records to talk about. Our boy over in Norway, we're talking about him with his European record in quick 1500 at the Diamond League overnight. Got a bit of local news, a few races to talk about, some Kipchoge news in here, a nice listener question which talks about beer. Not sure if my two co-hosts are having a beer as we record tonight, but I'll ask them that in a second. Moose on the Loose, a real big bit of text here. I'm just scrolling through as we're talking, so that's going to be interesting when we get to that. And a bit of stuff to preview what's coming up. Welcome to my co-host, the 2:17 man from the Lake Biwa Marathon, also a 29-minute man, a 65-minute man, a 3:47 man, and a 14:18 man. I reckon I got all those pretty close croaks. Maybe 14:20. How are you this week?
Good, mate. It's a nice intro.
Well, you got a nice one where Moose hosted a couple of weeks ago too.
Yeah, it was very kind. So you gave me a little bit of extra credit on the 1500 and the 5K.
The longer it's been since you've ran them, the more kind of mayo we can put on them, I think.
Yeah. Well, if I was in the new shoes, it would have been 3:47.
Oh, here we go.
The shoes. Here we go. Here we go. You've entered salty territory now in your career.
No, I just knew it would trigger you, Moose.
And that's not his Moose on the Loose. There could be a few Moose on the Looses this week. We'll see if that comes up throughout the show. The other co-host is the Geelong region not captain of the Geelong Cats running team, but he is a 2:14 man from also the Lake Biwa Marathon in 2019. I'm going to say March, rainy day, super windy, probably 2:12 on a good day. Julian Spence, welcome to you.
Well, yeah, you've opened me up to my Moose on the Loose early, Brady.
Okay,
We'll do it later on. But I actually didn't think it was a slow day at all that day, although others have complained about the weather. But I didn't mind it.
I was there, Moose. It was a slow day. A lot of people ran slow that day. Tommy DeCano, me, Reece Edwards, Brad Milosevic. More people ran poorly from Australia than well. You and Nick Earl.
It happens in nearly every marathon, though.
Yeah, but maybe 50-50. I reckon that day it was 80-20. People were running bad, percentage-wise.
Yeah, look.
It was windy that day.
It's been a bit of a trigger for me this week. So
it was windy.
It wasn't windy. No, it wasn't.
Lake Biwa was windy, yeah. We had a tailwind on the way out.
I don't remember it being windy at all.
Because you were in a flow state, just running big 2:14 kind of times.
It was wet. I remember it being wet, but that didn't play much of a part. That was not a problem.
Anyway, mate, I'm trying to build you up here and say you're quicker than you actually are. I can take it. I can retract it if you like.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to retract it because that's what I ran, and it doesn't say Lake Biwa 2:14, but it was windy. It says Lake Biwa 2:14. You're not going back through old races that bloody Ron Clark ran and said, oh yeah, but that day I think there was a bit of a tailwind on the backstroke.
That day he was on cinders.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You're not doing that, are you? Some people love doing that shit. Some people on Twitter recently really like doing that.
Yeah, Tams and Manu, is that who you're referring to this morning?
Did see a bit come out about that, and I was just reading it going, is it 2017 again? Like, are we still doing this? Are we still talking about shoes? And in particular, like, it not being an even playing field? Because every single shoe brand now has a high stack racing shoe.
No,
And
I don't think, sorry to catch you off, I don't think she was saying it was an even playing field. I think she was saying it's not fair to compare the times today to her era.
I think you're wrong about that.
Okay.
Because something popped up before. Hold on one second.
I've got a
That's
Twitter
the way
open.
I'm with you, Brady. That's the way I read it as well, was that it's very hard to know like how they compare to previous generations because of the shoes. That's how I read it.
I'll read it out for the listeners. First tweet.
There was more than one.
Yeah, I'll read the first one. Watch the latest Diamond League, and I think we need a symbol after the results that say SS, meaning super shoes. These times are hard to get head around. Now, record books being completely rewritten for all countries. Next tweet, what about World Athletics? We have a meet where all athletes have to wear the old shoes so we can get our heads around how to compare the new times running. If shoes also help with fatigue, do the shoes play a part in actual finishing orders too?
But that would have been like then somebody when Tamsin ran her time, somebody back in the 60s saying, can we change the track? Can we get everybody to run on cinders for a meet?
I reckon we do a meet with bare feet too. Imagine that if like Monaco, it's like you can only wear bare feet, and then it goes to Rome Diamond League and you've got to be in spikes from like 1960 to 1965. And then
Can we get sprinters to dig holes for their foot placement rather than having blocks?
let's put flippers on them one round when they go to Lausanne Diamond League. Chuck some flippers on, see who's the fastest in flippers.
Oh, and you need to go back to the diets they had of those days, right? Like, what do we know about nutrition? And there was training philosophy. Let's forget that you have to train for 12 months like they used to, based on the current knowledge and experience they had back then. So now where are we at? Like, everything's changed. People have got faster, better. These athletes are full professional. They have access to everything. To take one aspect of that and go, oh, let's put an asterisk because of this. Oh, I just hate that so much. Like, it's just, it's got a real sour feel about it.
Anyway, that's a good
But
start
there
to the show.
there was one
In one of her replies, do you think?
Yeah, it was about I just don't want one. It was like, I don't want one brand or something like that. But anyway, forget about it. Yeah.
Anyway, tell us what you've been running, Moose. You got maybe a big race announcement at the end of your week as well.
Yeah. My running. So on Monday morning, went for a jog, 50 minutes, just around Aries with Ellie. We ended up going fast enough for a post-long run day. Then in the afternoon, went up on the flats at the top of Anglesey, on the top of the hill, and did my double up there. So it's a good spot. Took the dog up there. Went on some trails around where I grew up, where I used to ride the BMX around. So ran on some old tracks up there. It was a bit of nostalgia. The next morning did a workout down in Aries Inlet with Ellie. So I did her workout with her. But I probably would have gone a similar sort of intensity even if I was on my own for this one. So the idea was we ran 30 minutes of a lactate shuttle sort of threshold, so yo-yo. So it was to her heart rate, so it was supposed to be about 5 to 10 beats under threshold, and then 5 beats at threshold, and then she would sort of yo-yo like that. So the first 5 minutes was at 3:31s, and then the second 5 minutes was at 3:24s, then 3:34, 3:10, 3:25, 3:17. They got quicker because we were going down. It was uphill the way out, downhill the way back. So the gap pace is probably a little bit more even, I guess, or what you would look at. And then we took 5 minutes rest, and we did 8 by 50-second efforts just on the road, the asphalt road. So I was a little bit ahead of her. The goal or the prescription was like 3 to 5K type pace, but I went too hard. She went too hard. It's pretty difficult to hit that like step back 5K pace for only 50 seconds. It doesn't feel like you're working very hard, but that's what I wanted. We both got a little carried away. So my paces were 257, 253, 302, 257, 254, 253, 257, 256. Not sure what. Yeah, anyway. So that workout was pretty good, like getting in two sorts of bits of training, doing a little bit of VO2 max stuff, but also... Oh, no, that was Ali's paces, sorry. I was about 5...
I was going to say, that's not too bad, Moose. Like,
yeah.
It's...
That was 5 to 10 seconds a K slower than mine.
Yeah.
I don't know why I got her workout open. Yeah. So, yeah, that was... it was good for a combination type workout. So when you only do 2 workouts a week, it's nice to double up in the middle, like on them. So 30 minutes of threshold training and then 8 by 50 seconds. So VO2 max type stuff. It felt like a long time. Like we were running for about nearly 50 minutes of training, but it just felt like it dragged out. We were supposed to do 10 50-second reps, but we were both really just fatigued at the end. And it didn't feel right to do 10, so we decided to do 8 instead. Just a bit of a sort of adjustment on the fly. Next day, this is a good one, Brady.
Yeah,
so,
I saw this. Misquoted me.
Got a little pop. No, I did not.
You're like Sky News, I reckon. Real right-wing, misquoting people.
I listened to this, I think it was like on the run. So I was listening to you on the Road to Gold Coast, the final edition. And you just kept going on about this 15 degrees being warm. You know, like, and I couldn't get my head... 15 degrees, that's close to optimal.
Relative to what I trained in for this marathon block. You're talking about Gold Coast race day.
Yeah, but 15.
15's not a hot day, Moose. I know. I live in a town that's like 40 all summer. But I think when you've been training in like 1, 2, 3, 5 degrees for like 5 or 6 weeks, 15 feels warm. I don't think it affected my performance at all. I just remember early days in the race going, I'm sweating a bit more than I have the last couple of weeks.
But the way you went on about it, it seemed like there was a reason. Like it seemed like you were mentioning it so often that you thought that it did affect your performance.
No, I was stoked with my performance. We did the live show afterwards.
I know. I'm not saying that.
I don't think I've ever made the heat an excuse.
I'm just saying that this was something that was like harped on.
No, I reckon you're fishing for kudos here. Misrepresenting my quotes here. Have you listened to it, Croaks?
The
Road to Gold Coast?
Oh, Road to Gold Coast. No, I didn't listen. Haven't listened to the last one.
Misrepresenting
what do you
me.
think about 15 degrees?
But so I'm with you, Moose, in that 15 degrees is not going to be detrimental to your performance. But I also see where Brady's coming from. So, like, I look at it, if I'm in training in summer and I'm going out and I'm doing sessions like on a Tuesday afternoon and it's like 33 degrees and it's like, hot. You then wake up the next morning and it's 15 degrees. Like you feel so good because obviously you're doing these sessions in 33 degrees and then 15 actually feels pretty cold. So I get in terms of if you're training in like 0 to 5, yes, 15 is not going to cause too many issues from a race perspective, but it does feel more uncomfortable than what you're used to. Likewise, if you're training in 30 degrees and then you go to 15 feels way better or much easier than what you've been training in. So I get sort of what Brady's saying.
Yeah,
but you can't use it as an excuse for poor performance because 15 degrees is not in that hot range.
I fully agree.
And I'm not saying you're using it as an excuse. Brady.
Nah, and it never felt like I've absolutely cooked myself and I'm gonna like die of dehydration out here. It was just like an observation early in the race and I'm like, I'm sweating a bit more than I have been in my workouts at home because it's probably 300% hotter if it's 5 degrees, then goes 15 degrees.
But you sweat more when you're more adapted to heat.
And Gold Coast is often probably more the humidity that you notice than the heat coming from a drier environment.
Yeah. I just remember like just sweat dropping off my ear at like the surface, like 5k in and just being like, I've got to really hit my drink bottles today.
Yeah, and that's probably more the humidity.
Yeah, before the sun come up. You're probably right there, Croaks.
I think this also led, though, into my moose on the loose for later in the show. But we'll get into that anyway.
Can we agree to disagree there, Moose? And it's probably more of a blue-collar thing. Like, I'm not sure living in beach houses and training at 9 a.m. in the morning in 10 degrees, you really understand what it's like for the teachers and the tradies and stuff out there who are, inland coolness croaks. You agree with me, coming from Canberra? Gets cold. Yeah, rich boys wouldn't get it.
If I was training for the next 12 weeks through winter down here and I was getting up and running before the sun came out and I got a 15-degree day in my marathon, you fucking beauty. What a delight.
This day it was 10 degrees when you were slagging me off.
Optimal
10 degrees, that'd be beautiful running 10. Take that any day of the week. You'd wear a singlet, wouldn't you, in 10?
Well, if it's warm enough for a singlet, it's warm enough for no singlet.
Oh, yeah.
So
You're still doing tops off.
Yeah.
All right, you got a shitload of kudos there anyway. You achieved your goal.
Yeah, well,
okay. The photos of Christian weren't working, so he's tried another strategy.
Someone did call him out.
About Christian, actually.
Someone did call him out on that as well, saying the things you'd do for a kudos.
Yeah, well, it worked, didn't it?
Thanks to the people that backed me up in there, though. I was overwhelmed by some of the responses.
18 people, and I got 418.
Yeah, but kudos is much easier than leaving a comment. Every comment should be worth 50, I reckon, then I've got you.
Scientific poll. I was getting terrible sleep this week, by the way. I got a baby that started to wake up at the middle of the night. And also 4 a.m. she wakes up now. We got like a sleep consultant to review it and give us some advice on stuff, but it's not working. So I was like a zombie for a lot of this week.
Have you thought about getting that snoo thing back out?
Well, I don't think you can strap them in that when they're this age.
Okay.
I think they might complain about that. But it's a bit of a commodity, the snoo, like a good investment if you're thinking about it. You could just have a few in the shed. 6:30, that was 6K, and then what the hell was that?
That was a PM run, 7:40 PM.
Yeah, I got out, this was after dinner. After dinner, I went for a run, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This is the worst kind of running that there is. Like, headlamp on. It was like it wasn't raining, I don't think, but it was pitch black. I had a belly full of food. I was tired as fuck. I'm normally sitting on the couch at this time. I'm like, oh, this is a sign that I'm actually motivated because I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm out here doing it. Very quiet in the town at that time, 7:40 at night. So good, got the dog out there. So he liked it. But going to be probably a fairly big part of my training going forward if I do train for this marathon, the post-dinner doubles, because I can't get out of it, not get out of it, but when I get home, I got to hang out at home a bit, do the baby stuff, you know how it is. Next day, I got a new shoe on, Supercomp Trainer V2, so really enjoyed this. Ran 14K, felt very good. Up the hills again. Got out early, too early, 6:54. It's dark for like 20 minutes. So I'm... Oh, fucking dog. Hold on one sec.
I'll read out your notes about this Supercomp Trainer V2.
Yeah, I'm back, sorry.
Oh, you're back. That was quick.
Some good words to him. And, so, yeah, like, you guys running the first version?
No, I never got the Supercomp Trainer. I like the look at it, though. Like, I like those kind of big shoes.
I don't think you would have loved the first one, though, because it was really big. Like, really big. A lot of bigger guys liked it because it was just enough shoe for them. The new one, though, it is very fun. Like, it's smaller profile than the first one. It's close to the ground, slightly lower offset, not as heavy. The upper, to me, fits a lot better. Well, not fits a lot better, fits differently, but it's got a better heel cup on it. It just feels like it's like a Super Blast. This is the closest shoe to a Super Blast that I've tried on. It just has a plate in it, which stiffens it a little bit. But I'm always surprised how stiff that Super Blast is without a plate, and like how good it can feel. But this is New Balance's best foam at the moment that they put in a training shoe. So consider it. Like, a lot of good feedback so far. It's only been out for 3 days or so. I loved it. But got over the hills, so went an hour 14. Next day, did a workout with Ellie. Now, this was a bit of a longer session, like 50-minute tempo. around the Torquay Sands. This was at her effort, so not pace, not heart rate or anything like that. Good morning. So no complaints here, Brady. It was 20k an hour wind. You find an issue with that?
That's pretty
find
windy.
An issue with that?
20k an hour's wind, that impacts the pace if you're trying to go fast.
What about 72% humidity? How's that sit?
No, that's all right. I never know what to do with humidity. We don't get humidity in land that much. So it's not on my radar, humidity. I look at wind and temperature.
Okay, well, it felt fine. So we did 50 minutes. I felt super comfortable in this. This actually gave me a lot of confidence because I felt like I was just cruising. The pace average was 3:28. It got a little quicker towards the end, I guess, as we worked into it. But my average heart rate was 156, so that's way under marathon effort for me. Towards the end, I probably got around marathon heart rate. But I was tired. I've been fatigued. Like, there's a few reasons why I probably wasn't in like the best state, and I haven't got mileage to back up the last 15-20 minutes of that run yet. So that's something that I've got to work on. But I felt so comfy in this, and it gave me a lot of confidence for if I wanted to train for a marathon that I could pull it off, and I could maybe aim a little higher than what I was last time. So that was.
Just don't get overconfident though, Moose, because I reckon this was like you were able to do this earlier this year. Like, 3:28 for 50 minutes would have felt exactly the same, but you didn't have the volt, and so you're pretty confident of going in and running a half decent marathon, but you hadn't done the volume long runs, which you're obviously changing now.
Yeah, I know I can't. Well, what's the word when you
wing it?
Because 50-minute tempo, significantly slower than what you would run for a marathon, doesn't necessarily indicate good marathon. Because if you then go out and run your 70-minute half, you might get to 25-30k and then be like, oh, my legs are fucked, because you haven't got all the other parts of the cake, I suppose.
Yeah, it wasn't so much like the results of the workout, it was the feel that I had during it and how comfortable it was and how my body was moving. So I've really got rid of this knee niggle that's been hanging around for like a year or whatever. Like, my knees just, I've been doing a fair bit of strength and conditioning just at home, and a lot of glute work, bit of squatting, that core stabilizing stuff, and it's actually making a real difference to how I'm running. And I just feel like a lot stronger, and my stride feels much smoother. So, yeah, I take what you say, and I take it on board. But
that being said, you're
good.
Yeah, but that being said, you are you're already running more kilometres than you were for what you were doing at the start of the year when you were preparing for Osaka, and you'll get to your Sunday run, but that that sort of stuff is what'll make your marathon good, like running over decent elevation and at a decent pace as well.
Yeah, I still look at this Sunday run, and I mean, I'll get to that, but I did a Saturday run with Ryan Cramery, Brady.
Yeah, Kramers' his little brother.
How's he got so much better than your mate Kramers?
My mate Kramers has got 3 kids under 6.
3 kids, yeah, but you just leapfrogged him so fast. Do you reckon it's like training group? A bit of culture?
He probably just has way more case because he doesn't have 3 kids to look after. He's got a bit more responsibility in life, Luke Cramery.
Yeah,
both good blokes though. Both mad Geelong supporters. Is that why he did his Saturday long run? Because he was going to the footy?
Yeah. It was. But it was his birthday though. It was his 30th or something. So I think he did Luke go to the footy with him?
No, Luke was at home.
Oh. Didn't get the invite.
It's a long way to go for a game of footy. Ben to go to Geelong.
Stiff for Ryan, for the brother not to show up.
Stitched him up.
Sunday was good. So I was feeling pretty good on this one. I picked the route, so we went out and back on one of the best roads you'll ever run on. For some reason they've graded it, and it's something's happened with the weather and the rain or whatever. But it's just in fucking mint condition, and there's just no gravel on it. It's just like a hard packed dirt road, It's super flat. There's no potholes. It goes up, pretty much goes up a mountain, really. If you consider like the climb, like we turned around at the 13k mark, or around an hour, and there was still probably another 6 to 7k of climbing up this mountain. And we turned around and then we ran down, and that fucking sucked. Like the downhill for that long just busts you up. Just makes me feel uncomfortable. And then when you get to the bottom, like hit the bottom at 25k, had 7k left to run. It didn't feel great because of that downhill, like the 10k of downhill, which was pretty harsh on the body. But by that stage, the pace was up. We were rolling pretty good. The guys, everyone kind of works off the Friday workout, so they allow themselves Sundays to work a bit harder. So it's okay. Like, it's not that frowned upon in the group if someone feels good to push it a little bit, and it's not frowned upon if the pace is a lot harder than what a general easy day during the week would be. So it was 32k, average 412. Again, heart rate was pretty good for me, so it was 139, but there was a lot of downhill in that, like extended downhill period where it stayed under 130 a lot of the time. But yeah, 132k, and Bundoora this week, so I'm going to drop the mileage back and get sort of sharpened up a little for it. And I might use that as my last proper race if I have a crack at Sydney.
Big news, the Moose heading the Sydney Marathon in 9 weeks' time. You could be top 20 this week too, I reckon. This kind of
well,
form.
that is actually my goal. Top 20 is my goal. I've said that on Sunday. I'm like, I want to have a good run. I really want to do well.
Shouldn't be too outcome-based, though, on position, because you're really never sure who's going to rock up. Like, top 30 could be a good day there if it's deep.
Yeah, I get that, but I still...
Yeah.
Like, I've been in a lot of races this year, and the first race I come 50th, Cruden Farm came 28th, and I feel like I'm getting better, so it does give me a chance to aim for something.
Well, you know that the guys are around anyway.
Hey, Brady, you noticed Moose changed his tune fairly quickly around Sydney once Jimmy messaged us on Wednesday morning with the Australian-only prize money.
Oh, yeah, didn't he? I nearly fell off my seat at work, Croaks.
You're kidding. You're kidding that you think that I think I'm a chance.
I think you
do.
Top 5
No
Australian.
way.
Who's doing it? Who's doing it out of Brett Robinson? Everyone did Gold Coast.
Let's cut this conversation out. No one needs to know about this prize money. This is brilliant. Keeping that under covers, just for a few little like ambassadors they'll sneak the news to. Luckily enough, we were on the end of a message. But very generous from those guys. But I'm not going to trouble the scorers there. Don't worry about that.
I think you will.
Top 5, I reckon. But 15 grand for first Aussie.
10 grand for second, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then 7.5, 5, and was it like 3.5? Something like that.
Incredible.
$82,000 for the Australian-only prize pool.
It's good.
That's so good. You know, that's what London do for their UK athletes, and I think Chicago or New York or something do it as well. Yeah. It's a pretty established thing.
What kind of time do you reckon you got to run for 5th? 3.5 grand. Brett Robinson takes
under
first.
220. I think you got to go under 220.
I don't know who the Australians are. There's not a lot of Australian sub 220 guys in the country. I cannot think of any names, to be honest. Like, Benny Saint, if he's like using it as a hit out before Valencia, he'll be in that zone.
Well, Brett's doing it.
Yeah, Brett and Benny Saint. But guys like me, who are sub elite guys running it?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think there's anyone.
There'll be people. Don't worry.
And that's why Moose is heading up there.
That's what I'm thinking.
We're cutting this conversation out. No one's hearing about that prize money.
Well, I don't think that even if people do hear it, then people go, oh yeah, I'll do that in 9 weeks. I think I don't know. Like, I think a lot of them were in that 219 pack at Gold Coast, and some will be going for Berlin. Others are going for Valencia, maybe Melbourne. Like,
if they're considering it, then they should know it's a very hilly course, and there's a lot of U-turns, and they probably don't want to show up.
And you don't want to race Moose in his Aussie kit.
Moose is getting into shape as well. He's getting in shape. Toby and Christian were banging on about how fit you are on the monthly on Friday night. We spoke about you for like 10 minutes. I'm like, let's move on.
You said I was fit.
Yeah, Toby said
I was fit.
Toby's like, just between you and us, like, he's that fit, and he's just like downplaying his fitness on the show every week.
I think he stitched me up there.
He reckons you're going all right. Then we talked about your new house. Anyway, Croaks, how you going? You did get out for one run, but more importantly, you had your cardiologist appointment. I reckon that was Tuesday after we spoke last Monday night.
Yeah, and so that's the reason why I only got one run in, unfortunately. So I went out on Tuesday because I'd pretty much had 2 complete weeks off, and I thought, because Andre said I could, do 30 minutes a day pretty easy. So I thought, I'll start just getting out the door and doing something more for just some like mental health and just so I'm not on the couch. So yeah, went out for 30 minutes and I felt garbage. Like you lose a fair bit in 2 weeks in terms of just conditioning of your legs. Like 5 minutes in, my hip flexors were just tight and sore and it wasn't an overly enjoyable run. And then maybe in the last 5 minutes, I started to feel a bit like short of breath. And I looked down at my heart rate and I was expecting it to just go through the roof, but it actually went really low compared to what it had been. And I'm like, okay, maybe these like arrhythmias, maybe it doesn't always just show up on a chest strap, because I definitely felt like something was going on, but it didn't necessarily show up on the heart rate. So that was 30 minutes at 4:35s. I had that telehealth appointment later that day with like Professor Kalman, who's an electrophysiologist. So spent the first 15 minutes. He was just pretty much scrolling through all of the test results that I had done in Melbourne. And he said, look, you're going to need surgery. So the stuff that I'd pretty much spoken about. So he said they would do an electrophysiology study, which that just maps the heart's electrical circuit. So they go in through your groin, put in like a catheter, and then they go up in through a vein up to your heart. And then they can map the electrical circuit and work out where the issue is coming from, what's causing the arrhythmia. And if they find something, they can do that ablation, which basically burns off the area that's causing the problem to try and block that rogue electrical signal. That's sort of my understanding of it. So they
what
would
are they
do.
Looking for? What sort of things are they looking for to burn off?
Well, there's obviously there's an electrical current that runs through your heart and that controls your heartbeat. And so they can go, so that electrophysiology study, they use this an electrode, and they can control your heartbeat, and they can basically see the electrical circuit of your heart to see where it's actually not they obviously know what a normal one looks like. And so then they can see where I'm having my issues. If that makes sense. And then if they can find something that's wrong, then they burn off the area that's the issue, and that prevents that rogue electrical circuit from causing this arrhythmia, if that makes sense. Right. It's because I'm not a medical person, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's sort of in a nutshell what they do. He said that will work if the issue is coming from inside the heart. If the issue is coming from the outside of the heart, they'll have to wake me up and do a different procedure where they go, I think, from outside your chest in. But he said, look, I don't want you running at all. He said, because I can't give you a percentage of risk in terms of you might have one of these arrhythmias, but I don't know what chance that arrhythmia, the chance of going from that arrhythmia to that, cardiac arrest, I can't put a figure on that, and so it's just not worth risking it. He said you'll probably end up with a defibrillator. He said when we do this surgery, if they find something that's pretty concerning, they would just insert the defibrillator there and then, and I'd wake up with a defibrillator. But he said you'll probably need one anyway because you've got this scarring on your heart. The scarring means that the structure of your heart's changed. And even if we do this ablation, which is the ablation's the bit where they burn off the problem area to try and block that signal, because you've got the scarring, that structure, your heart structure might change again with more scarring or whatever. And so then you're at risk of getting another arrhythmia. So now it's just a waiting game, because he said the normal wait time for one of these procedures is 18 months. But he said but people who have like atrial fibrillation would get the same sort of procedure done. But I think my arrhythmia is higher risk, so I'd probably get bumped up. So he's hoping to have it done within like a couple of months. So I'm pretty much reduced to like I can't even cross train. I can't go and swim, ride a bike. I just basically can't do anything that gets my heart rate like high.
Can you do? I know this isn't the same, but can you like do strength and conditioning?
I can. Like I started today. I did just at home, just the normal sort of circuit that I was doing when I was running. Like, you know, it's like single leg bridges up on a couch and some squats and some single leg squats type thing, or it's like split squats, a bit of core. But I'm not going to go to the gym to lift weights. I just couldn't be arsed. I don't enjoy it. I'd prefer to just go out for a walk while Lily rides a bike. Then go to the gym and lift weights.
Do you feel like you've got like an excess of energy and like obviously time on your hands, or is it like sometimes post-race when you do have these breaks, you actually feel like shit just because you like don't get those endorphins and like wake yourself up and you feel like a bit flat, even though like because you're not exercising, you actually should be like, you know, reinvigorated? How do you feel?
I thought I'd be worse than I am. Like I certainly don't feel like I've been climbing the walls. I've definitely been getting like the positive, and that's the thing. I've been trying to look at all the positives in that. Okay, what are the good things that I've got as opposed to, hey, I can't run. And it's like I definitely feel like I'm a better dad as a result because I've got all this extra time. And even this afternoon, I picked Lily up from school. She finished at like 3:00, and I put her bike in the back of the car. And I picked her up and said, Lily, do you want to go down to Yerraby Pond for a bike ride? And so we pretty much walked a full lap while she rode, which, you know, normally when I'm running so much, it's like I don't do that as often, or I'm not willing to walk quite as far as what we are now. So, and then like from a coaching point of view, like I jumped on the bike on Friday morning when the group did a session, and it just sort of, obviously there's a few different like pace groups, and I sort of just went between the groups depending on what their session was. And then later that day I rode with Rob, who was doing a hillier session out at Mulligan's, and that definitely got my heart rate up a little bit. So, you know, I'm at least just getting outside doing that sort of stuff. It keeps me sort of occupied. But yeah, like, I don't know, like I could basically be out for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and God, it's going to be an absolute battle trying to get any sort of fitness back again after that long of just not doing any exercise at all.
Yeah, but you don't need to worry about that though.
Yeah, I think
you about half health.
Yeah.
I think about someone who's had a pregnancy, mate. It's they can be out for 6 to 12 months, or even longer, really, and then they come back strong. You'll be right.
Most of them come back stronger.
Yeah. I think, like, I know it's going to be really difficult, but this is just a long-term injury, I guess, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
At least you know at the start, rather than having like something that drags on and on and on without really knowing.
Yeah. Like the only downside of it, I've asked now 2 like pretty well-credentialed cardiologists, like how many people get back to full training after they have this done or have what I have, and both of them have said like it generally doesn't happen. And like I haven't, and that's probably the reason why I'm not so down in the dumps, is I haven't ruled that out yet, because if I do get this surgery and it does heal it, and I do have a defibrillator in my chest, I almost feel like, well, that's a bit of a security blanket there, that if something goes wrong, I've got this defibrillator there to like save me. And like, I'm not saying that I would ever want to go back to running 160k a week, but if I could get to the point where I can run every day, I can do still a long run on Sunday, and I can do sessions at that sort of, probably how you've been training recently, Moose, where it's like comfortably hard. Like I'd be happy enough with that moving forward. So I'm still holding out hope that I can get back to doing that. But I won't really know. I won't really know until I get this surgery done, and and they won't really know how bad the heart is until they get in there and see it as well.
Yeah, you got to have hope though. Just having the hope there for the next couple of months is going to be a good thing.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for me. So now I'm just waiting. Like I basically finished that Zoom call and on Tuesday, and I haven't heard anything since. So I guess I just wait. I'm assuming they just contact me with, hey, there's a bed in 2 weeks' time, get down to Melbourne.
Yeah, do you have to do it in Melbourne, or does he fly all over the place?
No, I'll get it done in Melbourne.
We got to get Andre on the show too, Moose.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. But it's good to talk about, like, runners' heart health. Had a few people
That'd be
DM me.
easy, mate.
Yeah.
He loves the glory. He loves the fame. He's got his own podcast going on.
Krogs brought it up last week when he was like, I thought this activity was, like, good for me and healthy and, like, living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we can do that.
Did you know, or you guys do know, I was flicking through old AV results today and I saw his name in a Premier Geelong Gels Park relay team back in, I think, 2000 and... Oh, it must have been like 2009 or something like that. I reckon he handed over to Craig Mottram. Ran sub-19. He could run.
Brad, have a listen to this. Guys, it's Monday, right? He's on 2009 AV Gels Park results.
Yeah.
Wasn't even on the fucking team. For what purpose were you doing that?
Because someone put a photo in this Facebook group of a 2012 result, and then I got down a rabbit hole and just started searching different results. And then, I didn't even do Gels Park that year, but I just saw that Geelong won and Andre passed it over to Craig Mottram.
And he always bangs on about how busy he is, hey, Moose?
No, I'm not busy on Monday. Stay-at-home dad on a Monday, just Olivia and I every Monday. It's my day off before I do 6 days on.
So what was she doing while you were doing this?
She was sleeping. She still sleeps 2 hours during the day. She hardly slept last night as well, so I was working hard. Want to hear about my week, boys?
Yep.
Let me go through this. Monday, first day back at school, Croaks, back on the chalk, 12K, 426s, got 300 metres from my house, AirPod, they're not AirPods, like cheap, like Bluetooth air things, whatever they're called, Bluetooth headphones in my ear, falls out, smashes on the ground, bounces, lands in a puddle. Not a great start to Monday morning. Totally fried it. I had to run the whole run with one headphone in, but that was okay. I was trying to look at the bright side that I could just enjoy a bit of nature in one ear and a bit of like music in the other ear. Tuesday, 65 minutes easy, 428s. Wednesday, this is going to be pretty boring because I'm just started sessions at the end of it. Wednesday, 60 minutes at 414. Thursday morning, actually, I was down in the Big Smoke, Melbourne, stayed at Zach's Bachelor Pad. Did 70 minutes at 4:13. Went along, let me get this right, the Gardeners Creek Trail. Does that mean anything for you boys?
No.
Nah.
What were you in Melbourne for?
Lululemon Ambassador Day on the Thursday. So
What were you doing?
it was an onboarding, which was kind of interesting because I'd already been to Tokyo, already done the Gold Coast stuff, and now I'm officially onboarded. So I felt like we kind of done it in reverse, but it was good to meet a couple of the other ambassadors.
Who else they got?
Huge, big name signing in Australia. I don't know if I can announce this one yet because that's the first time I'd seen them at this Ambassador Day.
They got anyone who tapes over their mouth while they run?
Nah, I didn't see anyone doing that. This was everyone though. This was like yogas, training, runners. But this person, Australian cross country champion, ran at the World Cross Country Champs at Bathurst. Huge name. Got to know them pretty well throughout the day. We were kind of hanging out a bit, being on the show.
What's an onboarding look like?
Yeah, that's Georgia Hansen. There's only one of them.
Oh, put two and two together, Moose.
Well, there's only one cross-country champion that ran at Bathurst.
Your words, Moose, your words. Just all those different things, Croaks, getting to know some different people, learn a bit more about the brand. And then, because they have like this, it's like store ambassadors and city ambassadors. So like each store has like ambassadors, and then they got together with like their store manager. But I don't have a store. I'm a city ambassador, and there's no store in Chukamalama. So we kind of worked just doing some like brainstorming about how the brand looks and in our different spaces and stuff like that. So it was good. It was very, as you can imagine from the clubhouse, Moose, very well set up, very nice food, all those kind of things. So yeah, that was good.
Got a recovery zone?
No recovery zone. So there was a yoga zone, did some yoga. I'm so bad at yoga too. When we put all the mats down, I'm just like, oh, surely there's way too many people for yoga mats in here. If anyone needs to opt out, I'll be the guy opting out. But there was the perfect amount of mats, and I did some yoga, which was probably good for me.
Can we talk about recovery zones for a sec?
Recovery zones at fun runs.
I saw this photo from Run Melbourne, and Run Melbourne was Sunday. It was fucking freezing on Sunday morning. Like in Anglesea, it feels like 2 degrees. It probably 8:30, and I know that's when the run finished. Or like some people would be finishing now, I think, if it's a 7 a.m. start. There was a recovery zone at the end, and it was out in the open, like no cover from the elements, and there was like a mat with a foam roller. have you ever finished a race like sweaty, and then the sweat turns wet, and like you get real cold, you feel gross, you got snot all over you, you're sore, you're hungry, thirsty, you just want to get out of there? Have you ever thought, oh, geez, I'd love to lie down in the cold and use a foam roller right now?
Love to roll out. No.
It's generally put your tights on, go do a short cool down, and then get out of there.
Yeah.
As quick as you can. As quick as you can, you get out of there.
Hot coffee for the drive home would be good, hey? Yeah. Maybe a croissant or something like that. But you bring up a really good point, because I think that was ASICS who did that. Like, it's these activations where they're trying and they're putting money and resources into it, but it's not hitting the mark.
Mm.
No, so how does ASICS, because that'd be one of your big suppliers, Moose, like if you could then, get into their PR or marketing team or whatever, because I'm sure it's different people that you deal with, like how do you do an activation at the end of a running event? Because I fully agree with you, that didn't hit the mark.
Supply some egg and bacon rolls.
Oh,
yeah, if it's
free
winter,
coffee.
If it's winter, it's undercover. Give someone a space to go in, make it warm, offer coffee, hot drinks, maybe some hot food, like Croak said. Hot food, hot drinks, comfortable. Put some give people a towel at the end, to warm up, and provide shelter, because that's what people want at the end of a cold race. If you're doing a race in summer, the opposite. Perhaps there is a lawn that they can go and chill out on. Perhaps you provide them with cold,
big
refreshing type drinks. Yeah. And then you put ice around there.
Slushies, a couple of slushy machines, eh?
That's what people are after. Like, just consider where you're at. You're in Melbourne in the middle of winter, and it's early morning.
What they should have done.
Lay out on the lawn.
What about those branded they look like tin foil, but like ponchos?
Yeah, space blankets.
Yeah, space blankets. Imagine just
I don't know though. They're a bit weird.
800 of those ASICS branded things getting around at the finish line.
I like the actual I love race towels. Race towels I use forever.
Big in Japan.
Japan, yep.
Yeah.
Every Japanese marathon I've done.
Yeah, and even in Australia, where was the one? Great Ocean Road used to do them. So IMG it was before that. It was John Craven when he did it. They used to give out a Great Ocean Road towel at the end. And I've got they're loaded up, and I use them every time I go to the beach. Lake Biwa gave them out, and then the Ironman races give them out too. So if you ever done a relay at one of those Ironman's events, then you'll get a towel from it.
Yeah, Hobart Marathon used to give them out, big purple one.
Nagano, that's where I got my first race towel.
Filled up my cupboard. Love it.
Does Bree like them? Because Carly doesn't really like the race towels compared to the other linen.
Because I use the shit ones, and she can use the good ones. I'm fine with a shit towel.
Yeah, I put them down. Put them down when I collect wood. Put it down in the boot. Then you chuck the wood on top of that.
Clean the dog with them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyway, that was Thursday, boys. Friday, did a workout. I was running I felt good. Thursday, I rolled a couple sub 4 minute Ks when I was jogging. So I'm okay, without having looking at me watch chasing the pace. So I'm I think I'm ready for a workout. I did 5 by 4 minutes, averaged around 3:11 pace off a minute jog. Felt surprisingly good. I kind of thought if I could hover around 3:20, 3:25, I would have been kind of happy with that. The one rule I kind of had with this workout is the pace had to feel easy enough that I could do it off a minute jog. And I kind of, got to the end of each minute going, yep, I'm ready to go again. So that was good to tick that one off. Saturday, 70 minutes at 4:22s. Sunday, an hour and 50 with Archie at 4:12s. Koros / Strava ripped me off though.
You jumped ahead too quick. You didn't give us a chance. The
workout
purpose, what pace did you try to hit?
Well, I was trying to hit threshold, and I thought my threshold, that rhythm and that kind of flow across the ground, would have been around that 3:20s, because I often do 5 by 5 minutes, but I just did the first one a bit quick, and it's probably a bit of a trap sometimes when you go a bit quicker and you go, okay, I'll try doing more here. But it was, I think, doing them off a minute, I was, in kind of control, and it felt pretty good. So, that's my answer to your question. Threshold effort, pace I could hold for an hour.
Well, you must be fit then.
Yeah, I feel, well, it's that real, situation where it's if you're not tired from the marathon anymore, but you've banked 42k at 3:20 pace, has your fitness come up a bit? Do you know what I mean? Should I be able to run a half marathon at 3:10s, 3:11s at the moment? Which would be
what do you reckon, Croaks?
68:30ish, wouldn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, like I reckon
quicker.
I'm still I reckon it comes down to you feel okay, but I reckon if you were to do like a long sustained effort, the fatigue from the marathon would probably come back to bite you at some point. Like I remember, when was it? It was Melbourne half one year, and so I finished third, but I remember running against Rowan Walker, and Rowan Walker had just done like Surf Coast Century or something like 2-3 weeks before, and he got away from me, and then he sort of just fell apart towards the back end, and so obviously that race was still in his legs. So, it'd be interesting to see how you would go at a half now, because I reckon maybe the last 5K you'd probably just find that the marathon would still be in your legs.
Yeah, because it's
You're
get away
this week.
I'm just going to go jog around, or not jog around, but I'm going to do it as a workout. You'll be about 30 positions in front of me, I reckon. So, but I think I'll do similar to what you said last week. I'll take the first 2K pretty easy and then try to pick it up throughout the next 2 4K laps. Hopefully finish with a bit of running. I'd love to be our 6th Bendigo back guy, but we've got I probably need to come 30th, 35th if I'm going to finish there, but we'll see how I feel and just, try to run through the field. Which will give us some good data because, the week was 110, which was all in singles. So, see what happens.
I'm the mileage king this week.
The mileage king, yeah.
That's bizarre.
You will be for the next couple of months, I reckon, too.
I don't think so. You'll be back above me next week.
Oh, not if you're training for a marathon.
Nah, I'm taking it easy.
I'd be happy. You just said you're trying to qualify for all this prize money. What are you talking about?
No, I said that I'm taking it easy after a big week last week.
Oh, yeah, you did too. Let's thanks to Patreon supporters. Who you got, Croaks?
I got Josh Smith. So I found a Josh Smith from Adelaide who follows all three of us on Strava. So I'm assuming it's the same guy. His PB is a 17:42 for 5K, which he did at the 2019 over 35 state champs. 37:12 for 10K at the 2022 South Australian Road Champs. 82 minutes for the half, which was the 2002 Salisbury half. And he ran 3:08 at the 2021 McLaren Vale Marathon. He also ran last year's Surf Coast Century, finishing 14th and running 10 hours and 35 minutes. So thanks for your support, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for the follow on Strava as well. Moose, who you got?
I've got Havard Lisitha. Havard is from Tonsberg in Norway. Is that on the... Who's the real crazy people in Norway? Is that the western side of the country that Christian goes on about?
Well, he's from the north, so it's definitely not the north.
I reckon it's maybe the western side.
I think it's the southerners.
I thought the Ingebrigtsens are on the west. They're on the west coast, I think.
I remember he used to go on, though, about someone from a region, and they were all like... They must be like the Tasmanians or something.
And his new partner's family's from up near the north as well, so it wouldn't be them. This isn't far from Drummond, though.
Oh, yeah.
Bit south of Drummond. Yeah, this is getting real south. Yeah, this is real south.
Well,
this could be them.
Havard, best times, 19:15 for 5, 10K 39:56, half marathon 91:05, and a 3:18 marathon at the 2021 Persalape Marathon. We think he might have 3 kids. So, good on you, Havard. Hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, thank you, Havard. I'm going to thank Daniel Brunton from Reservoir in Victoria. He's run 19:19 for 5K, so it'd be a good head-to-head, him versus Havard, only 4 seconds between them. 89 minutes at last year's Melbourne Half Marathon, and he ran 3:43 at the 2021 Melbourne Marathon. He needs to pencil in a new marathon PB, I reckon. If he's run 89 minutes and 3:43, got a bit of time to go off that. Big dog, boys. He is possibly the project manager at Brunton Engineering and Construction, so owns his own business. We all know how that works, Croaks. If you own your own business, cash, money.
Yep.
Stress. stress.
Well, maybe his dad owns the business and he's just working.
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
he'll inherit it.
Yeah, maybe he's just going to hang around for a few years. We never know. Yeah. Thank you for the support, though, Daniel. If this show brings you value, there's 3 tiers we got on our Patreon page, starting at just $5 US a month. So just think about a month's worth of content. If you think that's worth $5 US, you can sign up at patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. We bring you bonus shows. We got a couple of bonus shows potentially in the works at the moment. Oh, Moose sounds excited.
Craig's put his hand up for some big ones too.
Did he?
Big interviews coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have a big interview at the end of this week.
Oh, here we go.
Been a few messages sent backwards and forwards this afternoon.
Good. Zach put his hand up to host a sideshow as well, didn't he, during the week? He wants to host one of the road tours. I think
he was good. He was good down at the event on Saturday night, Zach.
Was he? Didn't see him doing much from my end, to be honest.
He kept it going, mate. He kept it going. He was the IT man in the background.
So, yeah, well, there was no sound working for the first 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if you realise that.
He did fuck that up.
So maybe, potentially 2 Road 2 series is going at the same time. We'll have more details next week about that. The monthly comes out every month. You get early access on a Monday night. You get the uncut version of the show as well on the Patreon feed. So anything we have to edit out doesn't get edited for the Patreon supporters. So if you want to support us on Patreon, all the details over there.
South Australia's premier running event, the Prepped Adelaide Marathon, is on again. The spectator-friendly course starts at the Race Village in Benitham Park and runs along the beautiful parklands and river torrents. You can register now for the Prepped Marathon, Prepped Half Marathon, or the family-friendly Saucony 10K or 5K event. Enhance your performance with the hydration power of Prepped. Get ready for the 45th Adelaide Marathon, Sunday, August 27, and seize your personal best with Prepped by your side. Register at adelaidemarathon.com.au.
Running news, boys. I'll start with the Silesia Diamond League. Is that right, Croaks? In Poland?
Sounds right to me. You've done that pretty well. Yep.
Was it in Poland though?
Yeah, it was.
I was actually up. My daughter woke up at midnight last night, and then I messaged Christian and said, "What time's this 1500, the men's one happening?" And Christian said, "In 22 minutes." So if there's any time when you're happy to be woken up with a crying baby, it's when there's a Diamond League 1500 metres to watch. So I got to watch it live. Our boy Jakob Ingebrigsten was paced by Stewy, and there was 2 other pacers. The two other paces, and I was worried that Stewy wouldn't be able to get out quick enough to do a pacing job, but he kind of slotted in pretty well. The 2 other paces were a bit quick early on, and then there was a gap back to Jakob. So Stewy kind of went with the 2 other guys, but Stewy was the most aware of the 3 paces that the kind of gap had broken. They went to maybe, I'm going to say, 700 metres, 800 metres, and then Stewy took over and just slowed it perfectly so Jakob could get back on. They were kind of running 55 through those first couple of laps. Stewy got him all the way to 300 metres to go and still looked amazing, Stewy. I actually thought watching it, I'm like, he's gonna finish this off and potentially come second. But he did step off. Jakob ran 327.14, which now ranks him 4th all time. It was a PB from him. Abel Kipsang was second in 329.1, and Reynold Kip-Career-Chariot was third in 330.3. The first 8 people in the race ran PBs, including Sam Tanner from New Zealand. I reckon he was 331, maybe 330, and Cam Myers was 11th in 333.2. which was close to a 2-second PB. He's just turned 17 a couple of weeks ago, and it's an Olympic and World Champs qualifier, and it moves him to 7th all-time on the Australian list. It now goes Ollie, Stewy, Ryan Gregson, Simon Doyle, Jeff Risley, Jai Edwards, and Cam Myers. There's heaps of notes here. Croaks is pretty excited about this junior result. It's also the World Youth Under-18 record, although Jakob has run 331.8 a couple of months before he did turn 18. So that's what's happening with Cam Myers there. I'm sure you guys watched the replay of it today, fellas. What'd you think? Pretty impressive running. He just makes it look easy and good from Stewy.
Yeah, I thought Stewy looked really good, and it's sort of weird now watching a 1,500 metres where you have somebody take them through that far. And as you said, Brady, I thought Stewy looked pretty good even when he pulled off. But yeah, Jakob is now getting the gap between him and everybody else is just seems to be just getting further and further. Whereas before there was a few people that were really sticking with him till maybe like 150 to go, and then he'd pull away. Whereas now, like the times that he's running, he's pretty much got it sewn up with 250 to go, 300 to go.
Yeah, it just looks so smooth.
Where does it leave him in terms of goals? Like, is he following Jakob's path at 22 years old, unbeatable Olympic champion? Pretty much like that's still 4 to 5 years away from Cam Myers. Yet look at what he's already done. It must be so hard in that position to sit back and go, oh well, I guess I'm just going to get faster and faster and faster. Like I at some point, like I think, well, I don't want to sound real negative, but he's got so far already. Yet the world record's only like 7 seconds in front of him, and he's 17 years old. And the Australian record's like 4 seconds in front of him. It doesn't leave a lot of room to move unless we're talking some sort of Jakob level athlete, which at the moment he is. And
if he doesn't, it's a failure. You know what I mean? It's a
really difficult place it leaves him. Like
it's
he's
not
a child
failure, but people will look at that. Yeah, so he goes out and runs 3:34, 3:35 now. It's like, oh yeah, but he ran 3:33.
He's 3:33 man now.
Yeah.
That's what he gets compared against. He doesn't get considered a 17-year-old. He gets considered a 3:33 runner. And so next week he'll go to a race and look, maybe he runs 3:37, and everyone will start like, this is what we do. We go, oh, get him home from Europe. Like it's too much for him over there. Like
he's coming home. He's actually on his way home this week, and he's qualified for world champs, but I don't think he's going to go.
Oh, he won't go.
No.
Well, has he got house sports on or something that week?
Yeah. No, just like it's probably not it's a tough one. Like it's an Aussie singlet, but thinking long term, it's probably not a bad move. Plus, I think school's pretty important to him. But do you reckon guys like Stewy and Ollie are starting to get a little bit concerned?
Nah, Stewy's not threatened at all. Did you watch that post-race interview with him?
With Stewy?
Stewy, yeah. Yeah, no. I'll flick it to you after this, put in the show notes. He was kind of it's a good run for the young kid, but Stewy's talking about breaking the Australian record in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He's pretty confident with how he's going.
So I reached out to Dave Tarbottom about this because, how everyone's been going about Cam's run the world youth and under 18 world record, even though Jakob ran 3:31.18 before he turned 18. But the way World Athletics do it is it's the age that you are on the 31st of December. So the year that Jakob ran 3:31 in July, and then he turned 18 in September. And so that year he would have been over 18, whereas Cam's 17 now. He's still going to be 17 at the end of this year. So that's why it's a bit confusing there.
Okay.
But he's on a similar trajectory. So basically, Cam's got another probably 8 months to find 2 more seconds, and he's on par with Jakob at the same age. I know, 2 seconds is a lot at that level, but still.
Yeah, and look, Jakob's been the ultimate professional, and he hasn't gone through that period where he's had a niggle or he's been doubted. He's just got better and better and better until he's now a super athlete that doesn't get beaten. It's just going to be very difficult for someone to follow in those footsteps. And it's incredible what Cam Myers is doing. Just got to let him keep being a kid.
Yeah. You said motivation though, I can't even put myself in his shoes to think that. Imagine, go back to when you were 17. To think that you were doing this sort of thing, and to think that shoe companies it's interesting. Obviously, we're never going to find out a figure that he signed with Nike. But do you think these shoe companies are paying him more than say somebody like a Jai Edwards based on the comparison of him and Jakob?
Yes.
And
that's good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he potentially in the next 2 years could like set himself up for life.
Oh, yeah, 6 figures. As a 17, 18, 19-year-old. Hope he's got some smart people in his corner looking after him and making some good decisions. Yeah. He's pretty academic as well, Crooks?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. They always are, aren't they, good runners? Always smart.
Yeah,
some of them are.
Yeah, true.
And so Brady, Jakob's now shut it down till World Champs.
Yeah.
That's his last race.
Yeah, Christian, he's doing the double peak. He gave us that intel on the monthly. And what about, I had a bet on with Toby Moose, if Jakob broke 2:27, a slab on it, and he ran 2:27.1.
3:27.
3:27.
Yeah, I was with Toby on that one.
Yeah, I was too.
I nearly got it. Well, they wanted 3:26 to start off with, 3:26.5, and I'm like, nah, 3:27. Anyway, Linden Hall, this was huge Australian news here as well. She ran close to a 2-second PB, and she broke Jess Hull's area record by 0.02. Linden finished 5th in this race. This was non-televised, non-Diamond League event, but at the same meet. She ran 3:57.27. Race was won by Harriet Mishasha in 3:54.8. Kind of the times we're just expecting to see now with the females, aren't we? Closer to that 3:50 than, back in the day. Well, not even back in the day. Not so long ago, it was just if you could break 4 minutes. So that was great for Linden. I know Jess put a thing on Instagram. She kind of just had this, the text, how many times they've broken each other's Australian record, which I thought was really good. Not sure if you guys saw it, but it was just like Hall, Hull, Hull, Hall, just kind of going back and forth. So good to see her recognise her there as well.
It's good from Linden as well, because I didn't see this one coming based on what she's done this season. She's been, okay, I think the last Diamond League, she lost a shoe and she ran 4:09 and conditions were crap. But she's been hovering around that sort of low 4 minutes, 4.2s, 4.3s. So I certainly didn't see this coming. Up until yesterday, I'm like, oh, maybe she's not having a great season. And then it just goes to show, you keep turning up, you get in the right race, and anything's possible.
Yeah, you're right. And the women's 800, this is Mary Mora from Kenya. She ran 1:56.8.
I'm just sorry, Brady. I was just doing a bit of typing. That's why I had my mic off. I've just gone to the head-to-heads with Jess and Linden.
Oh yeah.
As a bit of okay, they've swapped the Australian record so often, but how have they gone in head-to-head races? So in the pre-classic, it's gone back to 2019 here. So these are their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 races against each other. It goes Hull, Hull, Hall, Hall, Hull, Hall, Hull, Hull, Hull. Mm. So Hull has this slight edge over her, except major championships like the World Athletics champs, so Hull got her there, but the Olympics in Tokyo, Hall got Hull. The World Athletic champs, Hull got Hall. The Commonwealth Games, Hall got Hull. And that's so some of the big events, Hall has performed well, but overall ledger, Hull's just a bit over Hall.
Mm. I'd love to know 3 ways. Abbey Caldwell, where does she fit into the head-to-heads as well? Because she was 5th in the 800 in 1:58.4, which is a PB by 0.14, Olympic qualifier. Cat Bisset was in the same race and she fell with about 150 metres to go, so hopefully she's not injured or anything like that from the fall. But that time from Abbey Caldwell is now the second fastest of all time behind Cat Bisset and 0.4 off the Australian record, because Abbey got them both at Com Games. In the head-to-head.
So, do you think that she's going to perform better in the World Champs in the 800 or the 1500?
1500, I'd say she's dropping down to the 8 to work on the kick finish for the 15.
Yeah. Second all time.
I know, but I still think that's a tactic they're employing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's. I don't think that's be a secret. But I'm just suggesting that perhaps this could be her event.
Mm. What do you think, Crooks? What would you do if you're the coach?
I think 15 for Abbey at the moment. Just watching the 800, she definitely seems to just be off the back a little bit early on. And, you know, the good thing about 1,500 metres, like championship racing, I think Abbey's got now good 800 metre speed that if it's tactical, that's going to help her in the championship 1,500.
Yeah.
Yep.
The steeple was won by Albacali in 8:03, and the women's 3K was run by Fruyina Halu in 8:26. Para World Champs Croaks. I reckon last week we just spoke about Jared Clifford getting his silver, and now Michael Roger was in action.
Yeah, so Rogues raced last night and finished second in the 1,500, running 3:53.89. The race was won in 3:52.56. So I saw some highlights on the local news here tonight, and it looks like Rogues had a pretty good break, like had a good gap with, I don't know, like even 200 to go, and then sort of got caught with 80 metres to go. Medal at World Champs. Other news, Carly Thomas. Do you guys remember that name?
No, nah.
I saw this result over the weekend and I had to think a couple of times about it.
Yeah, so she won silver at the 2018 World Juniors in the 800 metres, and haven't heard a lot from her the last few years. I'm not sure if it was like injury related, but she came out over the last week and ran 1:59.95 for an 800 metre race in Italy, and that's the first time under 2 minutes. So obviously, like if you're winning silver medals at World Juniors, you've got some pretty good talent, and it's good to see that she's running well. Sort of now as a senior. I'm not sure exactly.
Maybe it'll be on her profile. I'll have a look.
And then just a local race or in Sydney, Sutherland to Surf. This used to always be like a pretty big race in the lead up to City to Surf, bit of a precursor. James Nipris got the win in the men's. So it's 11K, 33:13 he ran, won by 70 seconds. And Eloise Wellings backed up after Gold Coast, winning the women's race in 36:13 and won by over 3 minutes.
Hey, Nipper got a bit lost in the Gold Coast results. He ran the half marathon there, building for Berlin Marathon, I heard.
Yeah, right.
He ran 64, like an absolute champion over the steeplechase, and got some big PBs.
Yeah.
Like he could do some damage. 64:40 he ran.
Yeah, because he ran Sydney. I think Sydney Marathon was his debut last year.
Yeah, 2:21:47 Moose. Probably was he first Australian? I reckon he would have been.
No, Reece Edwards.
Oh yeah, Reece.
Reece did it.
So
what did he run?
2:21:47 at Sydney last year. He ran 64:40 though at Gold Coast. What did Reece Edwards run? About 2:17, didn't he? At Sydney, yeah.
Remember that was a tune-up race for Melbourne.
Yeah. There weren't many people.
Look, let's be honest. We laughed at the time. And we're like, you've run 2:17. That ain't no fucking tempo. But then he come out and went through at 65 something at Melbourne and pulled it off. I think he ran 2:14 or something that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because his whole AV season, he was coming in like 7th, 8th and just didn't look that impressive, but I think he was just doing it all heavy.
Yeah. What did you find on Carly Thomas, Moose? I found out she went to the University of Washington.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Same uni that Isabel Doyle went to.
Yeah. And that's where Sophie O'Sullivan is at right now.
Yeah, that's right. Purple and white uniforms, don't they?
Yep.
That's it. Moose, what news you got this week to go through?
Run Melbourne. So that's Melbourne City. They do a half marathon, 10K, maybe there's a 5K too. A bit of time spent on footpaths, I reckon, here. The half marathon was... Oh, you always do this one, Brady. This is your event, isn't it?
Yeah, it used to be. We do it for the community living and respite services up here in Echuca-Moama to raise money back in the day, but now we've started our own fun run, so I don't go to it anymore. But yeah, a bit of bike path, a bit of path along the Yarra there, that run for the kids uses as well.
Is it certified?
Don't know. It's not a fast course.
Highly doubt it.
I'll check. I'll check. Lisa Waitman won it, so I'll check her profile.
It would be difficult to certify because I saw some footage of them running up gutters over sidewalks kind of thing. It'd be difficult to certify, I reckon.
It does very much have a charity feel to it though. Like this year there were a lot of kind of well-credentialed runners rocking up to it, but in the past it's been more of a charity kind of vibe.
Yeah, so the half marathon was won by Abdi Roble. He ran 67.48. What club does he run for?
Runs
Brady?
for Collingwood. He stayed here after the World Cross Country Champs at Bathurst.
He was the bloke. I beat him at Sandown this week. He went off first for them. He went out a bit hard, and we caught him with about a K to go. Ran past him.
Who do you run for at World Cross?
Somalia, I reckon. Let me check. I'll search him up. He's got some really big PBs. I know when the Collingwood boys signed him, they were pretty happy. And now Moose is going past him at the back straight of Sandown.
Yeah, probably get your money back, fellas. Lisa Waitman, she actually ran 70.28, so that's probably the better result, winning that, like, out of the two genders. 10K, Dave McNeil, he ran 29.48 to win. Charlotte Wilson was 35.27. South Australia cross country champs, Adrian Potter, he won the men's. Brooke Hines won the women's. Geez, Croaks, you haven't given them a lot of love, have you? Don't even get times there.
Oh well, there weren't a lot of people in the race.
Imagine coming second at your state champs and don't get a mention, Moose.
Yeah, stiff. But fair, I reckon, Croaks, because there's probably only 8 people in that race. Kipchoge, he's going to run Berlin. Back there, hated the hills in Boston. Decided, the flats for me. See how he goes against Calvin Kiptum.
Calvin's not there.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I thought it was announced ages ago that he was doing Berlin.
Yeah, he was.
Nah, I don't think it is.
Are you sure? Because I reckon
we spoke about it on the monthly that it wasn't going to be.
I don't know.
I reckon there was talk a while ago. I know that
he pulled out of World Champs.
Yeah, he's not confirmed for Berlin, Moose, but I know that there was talk a few months ago that he was going to run Berlin, and I don't know whether it was just speculation or whether, because it obviously wasn't an official press release.
Yeah, there's nothing official that I've just seen on the first page of Google. I
highly doubt that he'll get money then if Kipchoge's getting all that cash.
Run Melbourne, not certified, going by Lisa's profile. We spoke about it on the monthly. I asked the other two boys, but what was your first reaction when you saw this, Moose?
I was disappointed. I want him to run New York. Like, I want to see him get back after, like, those challenges that he set himself. He wants to win them all. His chance was to win New York this year, I thought.
I would have even preferred to see him at Budapest World Champs and go to Berlin again.
I don't think he needs World Champs.
Yeah, but just something different for the punters out there watching.
No, they got no interest. He doesn't have interest in that. That does the way that I don't think these guys look at World Champs like. I don't think it's looked at like it used to be, especially in the marathon. And even when you keep putting it in these locations, like, I guess it's always been the hot spots, but I feel like people are chasing. There's too much money to be had out there.
Here's a question for you boys: how much is like the fact that Kelvin Kiptum has come on the scene in the last year? How much is this hurting Kipchoge's legacy? Because I almost feel like Kipchoge now is like second tier to this new guy.
Yeah, well, the Let's Run forums, everyone wants this head-to-head to happen. But I don't think it will happen because the Kipchoge will have his paces there, and I think there'd be conditions about if Kipchoge's going to race that the field needs to be X, Y, and Z.
Well, who's dodging who now? You reckon Kipchoge's dodging Kiptum?
Mate, the Kiptum not dodging anyone. He'll jump in the UFC ring and the octagon and take people, and doesn't matter what sport. Have you seen this Calvin Kiptum bloke?
Yeah.
He is one hell of an athlete, Calvin Kiptum.
It's just funny, isn't it? Like, Kipchoge has achieved so much. Like, double Olympic gold, world records, and then he has a pretty crap run in Boston. Kiptum comes out and runs, close to the world record in pretty ordinary conditions, and it's like, Kipchoge's done. Kipchoge's not that great.
Yeah. Kipchoge's soft for choosing Berlin again. It's that real tall popper syndrome in Australia as well that we're just cutting him down now. But he's still a great athlete. I'd love to see the head-to-head, but I would have loved to see him in New York because I thought that would have been a great response after the hills of Boston.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
what I
field.
was looking forward to.
But it's not going to happen. But we'll see. Hopefully, I think Kiptum would nearly go to. But Christian was saying that he might not go to Valencia because that's an NN race again. It just annoys me that you could potentially not do these races because you got different management. I know it's part of business.
Who won't go to Valencia?
Then because they've got Kiptum, they might not let him run it because they've got Cheptegei making his debut, and he's an NN athlete. Okay. So different races want, So, and that's like the lady last year who, upset G'day's debut. But she was like a 2:23 lady. That's how she got to start. And then she come out and ran 2:14, 2:15.
Kipchoge will be in Sydney next year. Heard it here first.
Yeah. Didn't you say it'd be this year, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, next year. Got my years mixed up.
Just keep calling it. Listen to question, Croaks.
All right. Question is, what rules do you have with alcohol? For example, no drinks the night before a session or long run, or X amount of weeks prior to a race? And that question comes in from Paul Bolton. Not a bad question.
It's a good question. I'm nowhere near that strict. I would have a beer the night before a workout. Yeah, no worries at all. Wouldn't think twice about it. I'm talking like 1 or 2, not having 5 or 6. If it's an important race, I won't have one, and probably not have one for 4 or 5 nights, or maybe 2 or 3 nights leading in. But I quite enjoy having an alcohol beverage every couple of nights just to chill out a bit. Drink responsibly. Or like the days of binge drinking are gone for me, but yeah, I occasionally like sampling different beers throughout the week.
So what's your rule? You got to your rule is if it's an important race, 2 to 3 days before you stop touching it.
Yeah.
And a session doesn't bother you.
Doesn't bother me. AV race wouldn't bother me. But yeah, depends on what other life stress has been there too. But yeah, I'm definitely not professional in that sense of watching how much alcohol I consume before running stuff.
Nah, neither am I. I'll have a beer before a race, even before like a marathon. I'll have a beer. It doesn't really bother me too much. It's what I do every day, and the only thing I'd be worried about is sleep dehydration. So I won't have more than one. I don't think one beer. Like I normally just drink mid-strength beers anyway, so I don't think one beer has any sort of effect on how I'm feeling 12 hours later. If I would avoid red wine because that sometimes messes with my sleep, and I would avoid having probably more than one drink if it was an important race. I won't have 2 drinks. Session-wise, if it's a solid session, then I won't have more than 1 or 2 drinks either, because I hate the feeling of waking up already in a state behind the 8 ball. So I want to be optimal for workouts. And yeah, I don't really binge drink either anymore. I just physically can't. I just get too tired.
That's why I reckon. Yeah, that's why I reckon this question, we would have been answering this question very differently like 10 or 15 years ago, because because we're all now like, if we drink, it's generally just 1 or 2 at home. It's not you're going out and having an all-night bender. And so you probably would have had strict rules back then, in that I don't have any of those benders in the 3 weeks before a race or something like that. Whereas like my rules now are that I make sure that I have a beer on a Saturday night, 1 or 2, because I'm like, hey, I got a long run tomorrow. I actually want some extra carbs. So if anything, I drink on a Saturday night. I have at least 1, if not 2 beers, because I'm like, oh well, I need a few extra carbs for my long run. But yeah, like I'm with you boys. I don't drink much more than 1 or 2 if I do have, and that's not going to affect a race or a session really.
Yeah, I feel like I'm real piss fit at 1 or 2. So like does not, which I know is not the definition of piss fit, but I'm like, it's not going to have an impact on the next morning. But any more than that, I might be waking up seedy. And I still value like the sleep factor more. And I know that 1 or 2 is not going to impact my sleep. And I know that if I'm still in bed early and get a good night's sleep, if the kids don't wake up, I'm going to be right to go. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that answers your question, Paul. Probably not don't take that as advice though, any of that stuff we've just spoken about. Moose on the Loose.
So Moose on the Loose came about through like seeing a lot of people after Gold Coast Marathon talk about their races, and it wasn't elite runners. It was elite runners, it was amateur runners, it was everyone in between. came a bit after you talking on road to Gold Coast, Brady, about the course a little bit, like the camber and the potholes and then the 15 degrees, and also the pacing for Tim, that kind of sort of talk, and like I just kept coming back and thinking, everyone is comparing their race to the ultimate ideal race scenario, like where everything goes exactly perfect how you want it to, and it just doesn't happen like that. It doesn't work like that, and it never ever has. So why do we prepare like it will be the perfect day on race day? And why do we build it up in our heads that anything not the perfect race day is something that is dragging our performance down, or that we get to sort of complain about? In my view, we should be looking at the average conditions and the average build-up, the average preparation, the average that you would normally feel on this day, the average weather conditions. To me, that's what we should be aiming at. And anything above that is a bonus. Not looking at it as like the ideal, and anything that isn't totally perfect gets to be complained about and we look at negatively. Do you sort of see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. I even when it was predicted to be super windy a bit earlier in the week for Gold Coast, I was like down in the dumps about it to start off with. I'm like, you just want that perfect day and the perfect wind and all the stuff you just listed off. But then it's just like you can relax a bit because you can't control it. And it's just like you don't have to be so high strung. It's just like, oh well, all that goes out the window now. There's almost, when it's perfect, you almost got that pressure on that then you have to execute perfectly because you've got nothing else to worry about. So like you almost want a bit of like some adversity in the lead up or on race day to just take the pressure off yourself a bit. And then I feel that people perform when the pressure's just a tiny bit off as well.
You hear people talk about their races in the past, like, oh, I did this race, but it was a bit windy, or I did this race and the pack wasn't perfect, so I ran by myself for a lot, and I had missed a drink on this table, so there was a few seconds there, and I missed my flight, so I got in late this day, and so I had a poor preparation, so I was probably a few minutes there in the race that I could have got. And it just, like, here's some things I just wrote down off the top of my head a minute before we started. I'm like, here's some things that could potentially go wrong that could cause a less than perfect or a less than ideal race. So during your race prep, sickness, injury, weather, other races that you have to do for a team or whatever, issues with your work, giving you stress, taking up training hours, family issues, again, like crying baby, having to go to events, stress at home. Now that's like enough in itself, right? Now you go to travel, you miss a flight, late arrival because of delayed flights, food issues on the plane or in the new environment you're at, stomach problems because that's what you get with traveling, sickness because you get traveling for that, fatigue because you've traveled overnight, jet lag, too many distractions in the new city, you're in an unfamiliar bed, your room temperature is not right. I've heard every single one of these excuses used for a poor race, right? So, like, these are not uncommon things. You might think, oh, that's ridiculous. Who would blame that? It gets blamed, don't worry.
Moose, do you think this all comes out after the race, or do you think people think about this before the race and during the race and that then impacts their poor race?
I think people go into these events with this plan that everything will be totally perfect, and in their head, say they have a delayed flight, they start destroying their resilience isn't strong enough to deal with that, and they start to think, okay, this isn't perfect, and they break down a little and they get anxious about it, and they start to find reasons why they're not going to run well. So I think a lot of them will use this post-race, but it's pre-race that it's actually starting to have an effect.
Yeah.
But then, like, we haven't got to race day, which is the main one. So there's temperature, there's wind, rain, road camber, potholes, U-turns, there's congestion with other runners, blistering, cramping, bad stomachs. There's no personal drinks for the athlete. There's missed drink tables. There's bad packs to run with, so you're solo. There's bad paces of the packs you're with. Your shoelace comes undone. Now,
we could list a few more too, I reckon.
Oh, mate, this is a minute before, right? So if any one of these things go wrong, then it becomes less than ideal. And people start going, okay, well, that's 10 seconds lost and 20 seconds lost. What we need to do is change our thinking around how we approach races. We shouldn't think that everything's going to go perfect. And then when something doesn't go perfect, it affects us negatively. We should go in being adaptable to these things going wrong and expect things to go wrong. We should go in thinking, okay, the average temperature is this, which is higher than ideal, and the average wind is this, which is higher than ideal. And yep, okay, I might not get the food I need beforehand. That's okay. It's just rice. I've had rice before. Like, I can handle that. Okay, I'm going to go through a 15K stretch where I'm by myself. Like, this isn't a chance mentally for me to start thinking, oh, this isn't perfect. This isn't perfect. This isn't perfect. And also, the next step to this is we shouldn't train for perfect. We shouldn't try to replicate perfect conditions in training. We shouldn't search for the most perfect road, the flattest road. We shouldn't do our sessions at the most perfect time for weather conditions. We shouldn't look at the pace that we can run on a perfect day and use that as our goal pace. We can't be that ambitious, and we can't be that unrealistic thinking we're going to get the ideal set of conditions where you can run your ideal pace. We have to train realistically. And I do think this is where people get it wrong in marathon training. I think they do some conversions in the calculators and it spits out a time for them based off their absolute best race they've ever run when they were as fit as possible, and they go, on an ideal day I could run this. So guess what my first marathon session is going to be? I'm going to be running this ideal pace. And yeah, it's going to feel hard, but during the session it was kind of windy and I had some fatigue from the long run, so that's why it was hard. Like, they justify it throughout the whole marathon block why their sessions are difficult. But they're not actually, like, the actual reason it's difficult is because they're setting themselves a pace that's outside their capabilities on anything that's less than a perfect ideal day.
Jeez, all-time moose on the loose. Can I add also, don't compare yourself to other people on social media or Strava thinking they've got it perfectly, because it's probably like a highlight reel, not actually what they're doing in their day-to-day life.
Well, that's a whole other kettle.
I know, but I think it comes into it because people go, oh, but this pro person's got it perfect, or this person gets free shoes or shit, or this, you know what I mean? Like, this road that this person trains on in their Instagram video looks perfect. I wish mine could be like that. It's like, well, I've done it with like times of the day of working out, of being like, oh, I wish I could do this at 9 a.m. because it'd be so much better than 7 a.m. But it's just like, yeah, that's another one. So Moose, do you, as a piece of advice for people, would you recommend they'd sit down and go, hey, this is problem X that could arise, what's reaction Y? Like, how are you going to respond to this problem? Because it's most likely it's going to come up. Yeah. Would you go that deep? Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do if you do miss a drink at 15K?
I don't think we do it that specifically. I just don't think that we should be setting training up to be totally perfect.
Yeah.
So
that's your second part of it. I kind of meant, like, what happens if you miss a drink at 15K? Would you say to someone, like, are you saying to Ellie before, let's go back to Sapporo, Tokyo Olympics kind of thing? Like, do you guys go through these as some things that could arise in the race? This is how you should respond?
Occasionally, yeah. Like, there's some certain things with pacing and packs that we talk about.
Yeah.
And what to do, like, in those, we absolutely did for that, because there was so much consequence to the conditions. And so there was, like, it was sort of pretty cutthroat, like, if you made a bad decision early, how your race would go. We saw that. But she's smart enough to know, and she's kind of quite sensible and relaxed about it. So she might miss a drink, she'll have a bad flight, bad sleep, whatever. she is resilient enough to overcome that. Whereas I do have some athletes that will fret about it and that will look for the ideal, and anything less than that is problematic for them.
And what I'm hearing as well, Moose, is like just take things in your stride and go in with a clear head rather than filling your head full of shit of all the things that potentially are going to make you run less than ideal.
Yeah. And your ideal, like, think about what's ideal and think about what's realistic. And then go, okay, how many ideal, perfect days do we ever get? None. Maybe one person gets it once in a 20-year career for them as a marathoner. Not as a track runner, that can happen quite often. But as a marathoner, maybe 1 to 2 marathons you get that are totally perfect and ideal. Now, be smart enough to understand that, absorb it, accept it, and go, okay, so if there's a bit of wind, it's normal. Like, I can handle that. I just adjust. And look, the pace in my head, like the pace that I've been training at, has been adjusted because we're not aiming at the ideal perfect race. Like, we're training within ourselves. We're doing marathon training with fatigue in our legs, so it's been adjusted for that.
It's where runs on the board are so important as well, and like practicing things with like lesser important races, like, because I feel like you can control a lot in training. Like, so many times I've had just even like AV cross country, like a moment will arise in a race, and then you go, oh yeah, but I remember 3 years ago when I was in this other cross country race and this happened and I ran through the field, or whatever it is. Like, it's just when you can call on those past experiences where you've had experience in adversity or something going wrong, or a stitch that you've ran through and it's come good, or whatever it is. I think sometimes people, I see it with recreational runners as well, they've got a marathon in 14 weeks and all they want to do is train the whole way through it and just have that perfect build-up that you kind of talk about. Whereas getting in a local fun run or a local half marathon or 10K or something, like especially early in the block, and just, you know, testing out your kit and testing out what it's like to be on a start line and what it's like when there's a line at the Portaloo that you didn't have when you were doing workouts from your house and had access to 2 or 3 toilets whenever you wanted to. Like, that stuff is you can't teach that.
Yeah, cross country is great for that because it does teach people to get away from the ideal, because there are no ideals in cross country.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing about it. It's just no pace, no heart rate. Like, you go out, you run, you're going to get muddy, it's wet, it's hilly, there's camber, there's everything that the perfect marathon is not. And so I think that actually helps quite a bit.
Good one. Geez, Zach could crop that and could put it into a reel or something. Do something with that. That could go off, that Moose on the Loose.
Motivational speaker, Moose. That's your next career.
That's what I'm going to do tomorrow when I'm working on podcast stuff. I'm going to back that with some like epic like gladiators music in the background.
It's not motivational. It
is motivational. I feel like running through a wall.
For me, it's training advice.
I know, like, it's great. It's one of the best Moose on the Looses you've done.
Yeah,
not taking praise well tonight, Croaks.
Yeah. No, he's not.
Fucking hell.
Like, if I heard that the night before a marathon, I'd be like ready to go, even if it was blowing a gale outside.
I reckon we book you for the clubhouse next year to do the post race speech.
Pre-race,
not post race. Yeah, pre-race. What's coming up, Croaks? What we got coming up? Sydney Harbour, 10K up your way. That's a real insurance one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
pretty twisty turny. Who's doing that? Do we go to Elite Fields?
I know Leanne's doing it in the women's.
Men?
Not sure.
Ed Goddard maybe. He might be going around. Sydney boy. Monaco Diamond League is the 21st of July, early morning, Saturday if you're here in Australia. Bundoora cross country. Your boy versus my boy Moose. Who you got? Ed Marks, Andy Buchanan, Andre Waring.
Ed Marks for me. Sorry, Andy. Ed Marks.
Okay, that's going to be a big battle watching that one unfold.
Me versus you.
Different categories here.
If
you don't beat me two and a half weeks after a marathon, you've got to seriously look at training.
Hey, you're a better athlete than I am.
Mate, no way.
I think if Brady has actually pulled up okay from the marathon, I think based on recent form, I'd probably go Brady. But Brady's already starting to put all of these negative, less than ideal things into his head. So You've got the upper hand there, Moose.
I'm going to be nowhere near Moose if he's top. I finished 21st in my best AV race this year when I wasn't recovering from a marathon. And this guy just said he's going to run top 20.
I said that's my goal.
That's your goal. So I'll be nowhere near 20th. So unless you blow to pieces.
Too many unknowns for you, Brady. You had to put a prediction on, I reckon.
Yeah, just don't give me a sniff, Moose. If I'm near you with 500 metres to go, you'll know I'll close hard. Don't give me a sniff. Up that last hill, I might catch you. What are you doing in your life, Croaks, between now and next week?
Back to work.
Some interviews.
And might do an interview.
Some interviews.
Won't be running.
Won't be running. Keep that heart rate low. Moose, what are you doing?
Well, what am I doing?
Any big events like the treadmill challenge last week? You'd be happy with that?
That was good. Went off pretty well, I reckon. Bit different. Bit of different experience for the crew.
I watched a bit Sunday afternoon. Almost ended in divorce. Viv wasn't real happy with me.
Yeah, mate.
Spending a bit of time watching.
You watched the Mottram interview?
Yeah. That's why I
wasn't much of an interview.
That's why I wasn't available on Saturday night, Moose. I heard Mottram was in the house.
Yeah, I told Carly I was going down for 15 minutes just to help him out, Croaks.
Didn't go down well?
Yeah, well, they're going to need a pair of on shoes, I reckon, Moose, for Carlos, just between you and me.
Yeah. We'll sort you boys out.
Don't sort me out. Give my pair to Carly, please.
I don't need running shoes.
Oh, yeah, I'll give something to Carly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give my pair to Carly. Carly ran a 5K PB the other day, post-baby 5K PB, 23.50. She's getting fit.
She needs some new snake kickers.
Yeah, it's good that you remember that. First time she ever went in your store back in Ballarat, that's what you hooked her up with. She nicknamed him herself. What are you doing, Moose? Nothing. Bundoora.
Yep.
Getting ready. All right, boys, we're done. That was episode number 298. We've got a big special, 300th episode, I think, coming. Zach has held all sponsors off that episode, so it's just going to be free reign. Might have to do something special.
Free reign, huh?
Yeah, I know. He told me, he's like, nah, sponsors want it, but I've kept it free for you guys to do something special.
Ooh.
Where can we get a sponsor? Just charge them double.
Charge them double for the big 300th. When it's exactly the same as every other episode, but just got a different number in front of it.
I reckon we cut that bit out.
All right, boys. See us next week.
See ya.
Thanks to the Prepped Adelaide Marathon for sponsoring the show. The Prepped Adelaide Marathon is on again. Register now for the Prepped Marathon, Half Marathon, or the family-friendly Saucony 10K or 5K event. Seize your personal best with Prepped and get ready for the 45th Adelaide Marathon, Sunday, August 27. Register at adelaidemarathon.com.au.